It said, here's the support, but we haven't adjusted our GL to what this report indicates it needs to be. So it's still a problem, not nearly as big a problem. Is finding unknown journal entries. And what I mean by unknown, management had no idea that we needed to adjust a balance to a certain amount. That was not the case this year. And we talked to Connie about this going forward, that, hey, you identified how balances needed to be presented. Next year, go ahead and adjust those for us so that we're not booking 30 plus entries. So to answer your question, it's a bit long-winded, but yet things were better this year.
Okay, and next question is, reading over the Texas finance practices, it says the audit should be completed within 120 days of the calendar year, or the fiscal year. Why are we taking 9 months? We can't adjust nothing at 9 months and try to keep us out of debt.
Yeah.
If we had the 3 months like the practice says, we'd have time to adjust it. So why did the 15, 16 take more than that, and 16 and 17 take 9 months? Why?
Up until this year, a lot of that was the fact that we couldn't reconcile our accounts properly. And it took some hunting and pecking to try and figure out where's the problem. This year, that was not the case. This year, we scheduled the audit to come out, and most of the records were ready for us. Some of them weren't, and that stalled the process. Where we got into a problem was, okay, well, we weren't fully complete. Now we've got to pull out, and we have other engagements that we've scheduled on. So us getting back into the field was a bit of a challenge. We held off on doing the federal compliance audit until we knew, just based on the history of what we were coming into. We held off on doing the federal compliance audit until we got significant portions of the audit complete. And that kind of stalled the timing of when we were going to be complete with the audit. So I take responsibility for this year's timing in the sense that we couldn't really fit back once we pulled out. And so that stalled the process of it.
What does it look like for this coming year?
Well, this coming year, again, if we can get Connie to make the adjustments prior to us coming and not just give us the support for it, and again, assuming the cash recs are, we keep the system in place and we can reconcile the cash recs, I don't see why we can't be done in March. So.
Well, that's still more than 120 days.
In March? I think most of our
September, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 6 months.
That's 6 months. Most of my cities go in March, February, March. They're going to council.
The 180 is March 30th.
March, yeah, before March 30th, yeah.
Any other questions by the council? Any other comments by either Mrs. Moreno or Mrs. Turner? Thank you very much.
Yes, I would like to say that the reason why they had to pull out is because last year, the 2015-2016 audit was finished too late for me to do significant changes for it to affect the 2016-2017 audit. We barely started, and I got held until October 1st of 2017. Yes. So it takes time to get all of these done. So we work very hard to get at least half of it done, half of the comments taken care of, fixing the system, getting the bank reconciliations done. And when I say that it takes time, is because I have to train this person. I have to show her where to go, what to do, how to balance, where the money is coming from, and all of that takes time away from me to reconcile other items. So we're expecting that this new year, or 2017-18, it will be a better year because I have better help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our second presentation. Item 2B, the city manager's 2018-19 proposed budget.
Well, I'm taking currently a budget class that talks about, it's one of my last classes I'm taking to become a certified public manager. And in that, they talked about how much fun audits are. And the purpose of an audit is so that you take a look, hard, fun, to look and say the things you're doing right, the things you're doing wrong. And one of the things I did hear our auditor say is that we are making some progress, some things we need to continue to improve on, and he's here to document those things and say, yes, there are no longer those findings, and no, those findings are not. But the bottom line is the Fund 301 is in a deficit. Last year in that budget, we were able to separate the funds of 221 and 222, water and sewer. But what I would like to say is what you have in front of you is, according to charter, I have to present to you a city manager's budget. And so this is my proposed budget. You also have a calendar, colorful calendar that talks about our wonderful workshops. And I'll be coming back with an updated workshop that talks about things. We do things thematically. So the first meeting that we've had scheduled is our financial people talking about our debt and our bond council to come on the 10th. And then we'll fill in what we're going to talk about police department and the other departments. If you can indulge me for just a few minutes, we can talk about my budget message. And so, as I said earlier, that according to the charter, it is required for me to bring to you the new budget for 2018-2019, which you have before you. Okay? And as you notice, we say that the operating costs on the general fund continue to increase, thus resulting in the deficit that our auditor spoke to. And the city of Floresville has encountered several ongoing challenges from previous fiscal years on the general fund operating reserves. And he mentioned in his report that we've had several different things. He mentioned about the coastal, so that was Hurricane Harvey. In the city of Floresville, since I've been here, we have had a tornado, and we've also had a flood, and just recently we've had Hurricane Harvey. And so those do call, when he talks about employees, overtime, extra costs. Councilman Jimenez talked about the things that's happening on with Spectrum. Those are unbudgeted things that you normally have for your reserve, which is why we're running over. So some of those factors include the general fund is currently experiencing a deficit of $104,000 according to the audit. And due to that deficit, there are no reserves. And so our goal would be to have a 90-day reserve of $1.5 million that we can actually work towards coming over the next 3 years. I don't think it's humanly possible for us to operate the city and continue to provide the services that we do and have that reserve right away. So I'm thinking it'll take us at least 3 years to build up that reserve. To address the increased spending in the budget, the objective is to not exceed the budgeted line item in all departments. And so having this new module that we have is activated, and our consultant did turn it on and train all staff to use it, to be able to do that. Even some of the field guys in Public Works understand this new budgeting purchase order system. The issues that did occur in 2016-27 budget were we had legal fees that exceeded budgeted amount. This is being addressed currently because we have negotiated, the council has negotiated a legal team that's not going to exceed a budgeted amount, I believe $165,000. The police audit, that was unbudgeted, which resulted in some additional legal fees, as well as police personnel and some legal issues we had in the police department that resulted in some settlements and again, some additional legal fees. Additional costs to the 2015-2016 audit, we didn't anticipate the audit taking that long, number one, or a single audit, and it did cost us more for that audit because, as I think Councilman Houston mentioned, it was a 9-month audit rather than a normal 3 months. So those are things we did not anticipate. But to maintain a positive fund, individual departments will have to be held accountable for their expenditures within the budget line item so that we can get ahead of the game and not chase that ball. And so we're hoping that we can address these issues with the purchase order. And we're also trying to do and proposing a zero-based budget policy for the city council approval. That was one of the things that your auditor mentioned that we need to come and address. I did submit it to him in a timely fashion. It is attached in your thing. We go over what zero-based budgeting is, but those are things that we are proposing. I'm also going to recommend some things on personnel side and some adjustments to address some of our general operating deficits. We may need to leave open positions in Public Works Department. There are several of them that are currently open and assign those duties to other people. Elimination of the USDA accountant position, and reallocate some of those things. I am anticipating that in this budget coming up that we're preparing for, we should finish most of those USDA projects. That initially when we asked for that, because of all the funding, we knew that that was going to be something that would term out, and so I'm recommending that we term it out at this budget. I'm also requesting that we implement a mandatory hiring freeze that's by ordinance, so I'll speak to your attorney as we prepare going forward to see how we want to do that. But bottom line is that it means that any jobs that have to be filled will have to come before the council to fill those positions. Because if that position stays vacant, it actually stays on the bottom line. I'll just say it again. We have the fund that is in the deficit is a general fund, Fund 301. We pay staff out of 301. Water fund is fine. Sewer fund is fine. It's 301. Personnel is what can cost probably 80% of your budget. So I'm just recommending if the position is open, leave it open. Staff in conjunction with the city council and our legal team have negotiated a tentatively negotiation for our CBA, our collective bargaining agreement, with these terms. In the first year, 2018-2019, a 0% salary increase. With in conjunction and combination with some education incentives, they have step raises, and we did do some negotiation with duty assignments and that amount, but basically across the board, their general base will be 0. In the second year, they are requesting a 4%, and we have not approved the budget. We have one more meeting, but it's time for me to present, and so this budget will show these, will reflect this change here. In the second year, we're talking about a 4% increase, and again, their education incentives and their duty pay will be a part of that. In 2021, this is where it becomes a little different. They have negotiated that they will get a 2 to 4%, and that will be based on performance and physical fitness. That was something that the chief brought forward. And basically what that means is that they will get their base of 2% in that year, but they have to earn the other 2%. 1% if they pass the physical fitness, another percent if they, based on their performance. This is something new in the contract that we negotiated. Now, due to our financial situation, I am proposing that we look at doing, and we'll have to see how the numbers work out, a minimum increase for those other staff that are working somewhere between 1 to 2% based on their evaluation. I'm asking that we eliminate some longevity pay. As a result, they'll reduce our budget about $20,000. Limit the number of vacation days. In our last budget, we asked people to take their vacation on the books because we have an actuarium on the books to take all the vacation and get it down in 18 months. Staff is unable to do so. And so if you can imagine, vacation is a gift. And so this is a gift we keep giving staff, but because we are so busy, we cannot allow them to take that time. But because it is a benefit that we give them, at the end of the day, we have to pay it for that. So that's a deficit I'm carrying on my books. And so we want to limit that to 2 weeks. But remember, this is just my suggestions. I look forward to your comments. Reduce the number of holidays. Now everybody say, I'm not trying to take away Christmas or Thanksgiving. The city of Floresville has 2 days that we have paid holidays for Peanut Festival. I'm just recommending that we reduce 1 day, just do it to 1. I know the streets get closed, but just imagine when you have anyone to come out, call out, or your police department that work on that Thursday at Peanut Festival, they are paid at double time pay, not overtime pay. Double time is their pay for overtime, and eliminating that will have a significant savings going forward. Reduce the number of staffing that's attending some training. We may have to reduce what we're doing in training, so that will help with our training and travel expenses. To review the reimbursement from the hotel motel tax, wastewater, and water funds. Now, the auditor mentioned that we transferred in. That is something that we budgeted and we've been transferring in for some time. When we had the water and sewer fund together, it was a much larger fund. Last year was the first time we separated it. It is something that we budgeted. If you go back 3, 4, 5 years, they've always transferred funds. And so what we're anticipating this year is to stop transferring in so much money. And later on, I'll talk about how much money, but we're going to lower the amount. If you look under general fund, that's a quote from the charter. So we need to transfer some money, not all of it. Last year, we transferred $700,000 from the other funds. This year, we're only going to recommend that we transfer $375,000 from the suspected funds. Hopefully with this, every year we'll do less and less. This literally cuts it in half what we budgeted to do. I spoke to Connie earlier today as we were fine-tuning my last little budget message. We're going to look to see where we are and how we're doing transfer and not necessarily make those transfers this year if we don't have to. So those are things that we're doing, and hopefully in the 3-year process, we will not be transferring anything similar to that. The city council will need to address some of the underlying challenges. We do have financial challenges. We need to look at increasing the property tax to at least 8% over our current rate. This will yield additional funding because it costs more to run this city, to address the cost of living, operation. We have aging infrastructure. We have things that are overdue maintenance. We have an aging fleet. Your fleet is very old. I am looking at a piece of equipment as I'm spending more time with Public Works. We have a piece of equipment that has over 1 million miles on, 1 million hours of work. They don't even make parts for this machine anymore. It's aging. And so we need to come up with a plan, and hopefully over the next 3 years we can think about doing some things to streamline some city services while preserving our customer service, and to review increase in various facility fees. And when I'm saying facility fees, I mentioned somebody, and forgive me for somebody if I mentioned it to you before. Let's just take our wonderful pool. And believe you me, I use the pool. But the fees to get into our pool for anyone is actually just $2. There's an unwritten policy that staff doesn't pay the $2. I pay it. I know the mayor pays when she goes to Water Olympics, but that's a policy, it's unwritten. So what we're saying is we're going to call it a user fee, but a Happy Meal is more than $5. And so we're going to have to charge what's appropriate because that swimming pool is over 40 years old. And so there's a lot of repairs that we have to make to that pool. And so as we're doing that, we need to say that $2 is not going to pay what it costs us to run that. You have to have licensed lifeguards. They have to be certified. I have to fix the roof, water fountain, those kind of things. So $2 of a fee, a user fee, is not going to address the fee of what it costs to run that pool. We will be adding the splash pad next year, and adding that splash pad, it will be a fee to get into that. So hopefully we can have some additional revenue. So I'm talking about facility fees, I'm talking about those type of fees, and I've already spoken to the city attorney about franchise fees, because you mentioned Comcast and Wonderful Frontier. We're not collecting the most that we can do, we're collecting the minimum on our franchise fees. And those people going door to door right now, trying to sell you packages, we need to be able to get our portion of franchise fees. And we're at the minimum. Well, back in the day, when they actually initiated those fees, we didn't have Comcast here. Frontier wasn't here. And so we're hoping that we can have some additional revenue. These options are not easy. They're not very popular. But the reason for this is your auditor's been here. They've been our auditor for over 10 years, is that it's a perpetual problem. For some reason or another, taxes were frozen, and we did not do that, or we didn't anticipate having to have such a reserve. Floresville is a growing community, but everybody's infrastructure is aging all across the United States. It is an issue that we're going to have to address. So I'll be recommending that, because in order for us to have a reserve, first we have to get out of this deficit, and then we have to have a reserve of $1.5 million. We're not just going to be able to cut that out. We're going to have to increase our revenue, watch our spending, and hopefully we can find the $1.5 million for the 90-day reserve. The utility fund is the next thing on there. For the next 3 to 5 years, the utility fund will be completing the capital projects, as you see here, 1 through 4, are our projects for the USDA. You are all familiar with those. the new Plaza well, Interconnect, which is going to be a USDA project, finishing up the wastewater plant, the USDA water line upgrade. Councilman Ortiz talked about the B Street well, which we can't do until we do number one. And then FADC, we partnered with them to talk about the downtown parking lots and the event center. We've taken a proactive approach, so USDA has allowed us to have someone to audit our rates so that our rates can pay for what it is. And I do want to say the debt that we have for water and sewer are based on those fees. It is not an ad valorem fee. It is not. So the $7 million that we got for the sewer plant is based on those fees. The 2.9 right at $3 million, 3.9 right at $4 million we got for the water are based on the fees, not ad valorem taxes. So that does not cost ad valorem tax. The debt service, I have quoted there. So in conclusion, at the end, and I'll take whatever questions that you all have, we worked very hard to do some things. I think we need to get rid of longevity. We have to look at staffing, but we have to keep going, and we have to do an audit. It's required for us to take a good hard look at what we're doing financially and make changes. Staff worked very hard, as you heard the auditor report, to address those issues. So it is a moving target. And so right in the middle of what we were doing last year, we made some adjustments for this year. We made some adjustments. Cannot wait till we get back into our new city hall so that we can make some additional state-of-the-art adjustments in reference to our filing, our record retention, and those things. What you have after my wonderful letter is what we sent the auditor, zero-based budgeting policy. Now, this is what I am proposing for a policy. We can talk about that and adopt that when you go forward. It's a little bit different than what we had from the 2013 policy that was adopted when I got here. But hopefully we can take care of some of these things. The auditor did say it would help us go forward in the right direction so that we can hold ourselves to be accountable and make some of these hard decisions. As you go on, there is the actual budget itself, the proposed budget. It is a draft, and we have the current year, past years, and what we're proposing to do so. So I have this. I'll take whatever questions that you want, but we will be spending some time. As I said earlier, we're hoping to do Tuesdays on the day that we have council meetings, Tuesday and Thursday on the time that we don't have council meeting. We'll have them in this room, 6 o'clock. We'll have staff and professionals come and present to you. And hopefully we need to pass a budget by the end of August. As of today, we have not received our proposed tax rate from the county. We will be having that, and once we receive those, we'll put it in the paper and do our required budget hearings as we have to, but we have to wait till we have those numbers from her. Mayor, I'll take any questions that you all have at this time.
Any questions by the Councilman Nissen?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. He had his hand up.
No, it's good.
Either one.
Right now, the state of Texas and Wilson County has, if you're 100% disabled in the military, you pay no taxes. We have a lot of military in town, and I know we have a bunch of people that are 100%. Now, the new laws coming in that you brought up is almost any disability veteran. Have you learned a percentage of that?
No, we haven't had a percentage of that as of yet, and we're waiting to hear what that collection rate will be. But just to let the council know, there is a new law that says if you are a fully disabled veteran, you pay zero on your ad valorem. But it is going to be incurred by the city of Floresville, not the state of Texas. And so we give them that discount, and already you have a discount now for seniors that you already have in your books. And so those kind of things eat away and erode what we get for our revenue. And ad valorem taxes is one of our largest revenue sources.
So right now, the state reimburses you for the 10?
No, sir.
So the 10 people I know that don't pay taxes now,
The state does not reimburse us.
so we're eating that right now.
So what it happens is that you actually have to divide the cost of what it costs for your city and your services by a smaller number. So if we were servicing 26,000 people, I'm just picking up because we have more than that. We service 7,000 people all paying and putting into the pot. Now you may have something like 6,500 people. So that same cost and debt is distributed over a smaller group, which means each person has to pay a little bit more, even if we don't raise the taxes. only because that bottom line has to be met, our debt has to be met, but it's less people paying into the pool.
Okay.
And some communities are more affected than others. We do have a pretty good sized retired, but do have other communities that are being devastated. I met one young lady, and she said that has hit their budget to the tune of almost 44% because they have a very large military community.
Councilman Ortiz?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How much would the no raise for the CBA for the first year save the taxpayer?
I want to be very qualified that 0% just on salary. I'm not talking about the other benefits that they receive, somewhere to the tune of right at $33,000.
Around 30,000, right?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Can you tell the people too out here how much the council, the majority of the council saved by terminating the old city attorney and hiring this new attorney?
Well, since, I'll just be honest, that has been the largest number that we ever had that was a moving target for legal fees. And I think what Connie and I have typically done is what we spent last year.
Okay.
If it was, we tried to do it. And I think the number was $235,000. And so in this budget, it'll be, because it happened in the current budget we're in now, but it won't show up because I still had invoices from other attorneys. And so our lovely attorney here is charging us $165,000.
Save about over 50,000.
Yes, and we put a little cushion in there to some way because in litigation and other things about $10,000. But it is definitely a financial savings. I'm saying around $125,000 easy.
Right.
When we had a good year, sometimes we had bad years, and we had lots of different litigations.
And I just want to tell the people and the taxpayer that with the majority of this new council, we have accomplished that. We have saved the taxpayer over 100,000. And hopefully with the coming year, we would do things of that nature and start cutting where cuts have to be made and for the taxpayer saved.
One of the things, if I may say, Councilman, last year, when the auditor gave us the wonderful report, it was a lot more fun last year than it is this year. I'm being sarcastic, I'm sorry. I did take that and address each and every issue to the council as to how we were going to address those things, from staffing who were responsible, and we've been able to address that. I will do that again for this audit now that it's official to say, what are we going to do? One of the things he kept saying over and over again is this consultant. And so this consultant, it wasn't just I sent people to class. Yes, I did. But he came on site. There is nothing like someone sitting next to you doing real time. I had this problem, let's turn it on. One of the things that we budgeted for this year that we're not going to have to purchase is one for the cemetery, our cemetery fund, and we need to collect it and be able to track it. We have it already in Encode, it just never was turned on. And so he's been training staff on this new program that's there, but it was never turned on. And so he's going to be able to do that. But he focused on purchase orders first because that's where my real money is at. So we're hoping that we can get ahead of these things, that we can target what the auditor has pointed out. He's even pointed out some new things in reference to the event center, that we're going ahead and be able to do that. For example, he mentioned, and I don't know if you all remember from the audit committee, that monies from here are taking too long to get to the bank. Well, Connie was not happy with that report, and so Wells Fargo, as a special service to us, until we get into our new fiscal year, they're going to let us do the night drop and do that until we're able to come up with a new program and we're in our new city hall. And so we're trying to be proactive, but once we have the report, we're addressing each and every item so that we can do that. But I do want to say, hopefully it can be a team, city staff, administration, and the council to help us do that, but we all need to make some hard choices.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Jones?
How far over budget are we on the city hall renovation?
Actually, we're not over on the city hall renovations at all. In every budget and everything you have what they call contingency. So when you apply, we can do so. Now, he audited last year with some, and he did not find anything in our capital improvements as of today to be able to do that. So I can speak of audited funds. We are not over in any of those funds. And going forward, we should be able to make budget for those things because we did anticipate those type of transactions.
Because you had some overruns. So.
They're called contingencies, which you have approved in that amount.
And like our baseball field out here, did it come out of the water fund to hook up the 6-inch line from the, we took that out of our water fund to hook it up from.
There were
the
two
street
parts to
the-
that. There were,
To the
no,
baseball fields.
there were two
sprinkler
parts
system.
to the 97.
Yes.
Two parts. One took, Mr. Waters did that on 97.
That
and
was the
second-
over budget of 160,000, but